The city of Fasher burned, hundreds killed, thousands displaced in a single weekend. In late October, as reports of a fresh massacre emerged, the world briefly remembered Sudan. For most of the year, Sudan's agony has been background noise. This war is not new. It is the burning embers of a failed revolution, fanned by competing global interests, and a world that has decided that other crises deserve priority. This is the story of how a revolution collapsed and how a nation was plunged into endless chaos. In 2019, Sudanese protesters toppled Omar al-Bashir, one of Africa's longest ruling dictators. It was a moment of triumph. The world cheered as a grassroots revolution forced the army to step aside. For a brief moment, it seemed like Sudan had escaped its cycle of coups and repression. But revolutions don't end when the tyrant falls. When the smoke cleared, two men stood as uneasy partners in power. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, head of the Sudanese Armed Forces, and Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, better known as Hemedti, commander of the Rapid Support Forces, a paramilitary force born from the Janjaweed militias that once terrorized Darfur. By 2021, Burhan and Hemedti staged a coup, removing the civilian government. A failed transition turned into a two-man struggle for the state. The partnership became a standoff. When war erupted in 2023, it was because they both wanted control of the army, the state, and the spoils that sustained them. The conflict began with a dispute over how to merge the RSF into the National Army, a key condition of the transition agreement. Neither side trusted the other. Both sides had built up their own fiefdoms, each feeding on Sudan's vast natural wealth. The SAF controlled state industries, customs, and the formal economy. The RSF controlled gold mines in Darfur and major smuggling routes through Chad and Libya. The Sudanese people were caught in war and violence again. More than 10 million people displaced, at least 15,000 dead, and much of Khartoum reduced to rubble. But this is only part of the story of why the standoff turned to war. A corporate takeover battle for Sudan's spoils was happening at the same time. The Sudanese war is not just local conflict. It's a competition for influence along the Red Sea corridor, one of the most strategic trade arteries in the world, connecting Africa, the Gulf, and the Indian Ocean. Prime real estate. The United Arab Emirates stands accused by the UN of supplying weapons to the RSF through Chad. The UAE, of course, denies this. Egypt, wary of Islamist resurgence and supportive of state militaries, backs Burhan's SAF. Saudi Arabia and the US have tried to mediate, but their influence is waning. Meanwhile, Russia has long sought access to Port Sudan for a naval base, a foothold on the Red Sea. In practice, that means the Russians have allegedly supported both sides at various times, and China, ever pragmatic, remains quietly focused on protecting its infrastructure and trade. For every external player, a stable democratic Sudan is perhaps less valuable than a fragmented one. The war is not a problem to be solved, but an opportunity to be managed.
Chaos is a ladder.
The international response has been a masterclass in structured indifference. Statements of concern, sanctions that target individuals already at war, a humanitarian appeal that remains grotesquely underfunded. The machinery of global governance manages the optics of the crisis, not the crisis itself. The International Criminal Court has reopened investigations into atrocities in Darfur, but even justice can be political. Neither Burhan nor Hemedti recognize the ICC's jurisdiction, and with permanent Security Council members allegedly involved in the conflict, accountability at the UN is a distant dream. The world says it cannot afford another crisis, while Sudan collapses in plain sight. Sudan is a tragedy, but also a warning. When a revolution is hijacked by the military, when the promise of democracy is bartered for stability, the result is neither. Sudan's fall shows what happens when the people's victory is placed in the hands of generals. Look south to Madagascar. A youth-driven revolution has just swept its old rulers from power. The military now sits at the center of its transition. It may yet succeed, but in Sudan, the revolution was not defeated in the streets. It was defeated in the negotiations. Revolutions demand courage, transitions demand discipline. Without both, they are often devoured by the men in uniform. Sudan's case is instructive, and history often rhymes. Sudan's war is an entrenched conflict at the confluence of failed transitions, structural predation, identity fracture, and international competition. It is what happens when the dream of a better nation meets the realities of cynical power. The massacre in Fasher is a devastating reminder, but when the headlines fade and the world once more forgets, I hope that you will remember. Remember how geographic luck can become a geopolitical curse, and that in a world structured by profit and power, a forgotten war isn't a bug, it's a feature. But what do you think? Is there any way to resolve Sudan's ongoing conflict, or has the world simply given up? Is Sudan the beginning of a new scramble for Africa? If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe for more videos on power, collapse, war, and the systems behind them.